I'm live. Okay, hopefully this works better. Please tell me that somebody can see me. "21 seconds in, and it looks like there are no viewers. That's promising." It's working. Sweet. Thanks, Ron. All right, looks like we've got 2 people here. Randy can see me. Awesome. Okay. I don't know if you guys could hear anything of what I said before. My camera is reversed, and it's really messing me up. When I move to the right, it moves to the left. So I'm going to see if I can change that, but I don't think I can. It's probably something you're supposed to change before you go live. But I was just so dang excited, I didn't change it. First notification I got this live. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to start yammering away. And if you guys could hear me last time, some of that stuff will be repeated. Pretty sure you need settings prior. Yeah. Hey, Chippy. How you doing? Staying warm? Gragity, grage. We see her and see and hear you. Oh, anyone who is in just sick at work. Yeah, I'm doing all right, staying warm. For just because I don't think anybody could see or hear me last time, I said that I was planning on doing a video where I was going to actually use the heater behind me and do some, I guess, old school lowered expectations testing. I've been collecting, I can't remember which one of you, but someone has been, ever since I brought it up, I think 3 years ago, one of my regular commenters has been nagging me to do this, and that is to burn bacon fat in one of these heaters. And so I've had all the roommates collecting stuff. I still don't have a whole bunch of it, but it would be enough to do a few hour test probably. A liter will do basically 2 hours. So I was going to get something, and basically in order to burn the animal fat, you would have to keep it warm. So I would have to do it in a warm space. Anyway, I was going to do it here in the bus in the next few days, but I'm not doing that because the temperature has plummeted and it's really hard to do anything. Warm isn't a thing here until the next few days. Yeah. Oh, it's going up to pluses. I haven't looked that far ahead into the forecast. It would smell good. Yeah, I've burnt, hey, Kirk. What's up, buddy? I burned used oil mine for years. I assume that's cooking oil. Anyway, it dropped. It was, I'm sorry for you Americans. I'm not going to be able to do the conversions in my head here, but it was minus 14 degrees Celsius for a few days, and I planned on doing some, animal fat. It was bacon fat, but also breakfast sausages and ham and chicken and all sorts of fat that we've saved. And I was going to burn that in my heater in this portable guy. I've got chambers. I can repair it when it breaks, if it breaks. But hit a new record cold. That does not surprise me in your area. It is close. Yeah. So the temperature plummeted. It warmed up to minus 19 Celsius here today, which is brutally cold, and it's dropping to minus 26 overnight without wind chill or anything. So I don't want to be messing around with that stuff. And so I figured I would come on here and just have a chat. There's also a couple of interesting things. One of the things Kirk Walsh has pointed out, one of the heaters that I wanted to talk about. So there's a few new really cool heaters on the market that I'm pretty sure I won't actually be able to get and test for you guys. And I want to, a bunch of you are probably going to go and leave and watch these videos as soon as I bring this up, which I won't be mad about. But David McLuckie, if you guys don't follow his channel, you should be. He makes some really great videos. David McLuckie recently, I'll get back to you in a second, Kirk, but oh, this says that there was an ad inserted. Are you guys getting live ads? I suppose if you are, you can't hear me now. But anyway, David McLuckie recently did a video on a true, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, everyone. Yeah, thanks, Chippy. David McLuckie recently made a video on a true 8 kilowatt heater. It is made by a company called HLN. I'm actually going to see, if I leave this page, will I screw everything up? I'm not going to go get the link. I was going to try to post the link in the chat. No ads here yet. Good. Okay. Maybe it just inserts them after anyway. Seen that video. Thing is a beast. Yeah, it is a beast. So David McLuckie made a couple of videos very recently on a true 8 kilowatt, or what we believe to be a true 8 kilowatt heater. I don't know if he actually tested fuel consumption. It looks like it's still too warm in his area to actually crank it up in his little workshop or shed. But this thing is twice the physical size. Go to HLN. I believe it's HLN. Anyway, just search in Google or wherever you search for HLN 8 kilowatt heater. I've asked them to send me one, or I've told them I have an audience that would appreciate if they send me one. And if they do, I will do a review of it or a test of it. And I told them that even if they didn't want to send me one, I would still probably make a video sending people their way, because it looks like they've actually done the development work, and it looks like it's actually an American company. I assume that the electronics and all the work was done through Taiwan or China or something like that, because developing something like this in the States would be insanely expensive. Alberta independence. Chinese diesel heater dead. That's a bit much, but hilarious. So, yes, I told them that I would try to promote their product and try to make it known that they were the ones, if in fact they are the ones who did the development work on that. I would like you guys to know that. So I asked them to kind of send me some details about their company. You guys may remember a few years ago, I did a video about a Burek remote control. It was basically a device that could turn your heater on and off like a home thermostat for you. And yeah, anyway, that company never asked me to make those videos. They never paid me anything. They sent me the device. I don't actually use them because I don't really have any practical use for them. But I knew that you guys would enjoy it. I thought that it was a great product, and I knew that it was an American company, and so I wanted to promote their stuff. And I think this is probably the same thing, with the exception that they've probably outsourced the manufacturing to Taiwan or China, because manufacturing something like that in the States, even though the heater is expensive, it would be phenomenally expensive. HLN makes a few heaters. Pretty sure they make combo hydro. They do, yes. They make some really cool stuff. And the new 8 kilowatt air heater is they just put it up on their website. I went a few days ago, and David McLuckie had made a couple of videos on his, and when I went to the website, they hadn't put it up on the website yet. So it is now up on their website, available for pre-order. I think they're saying it's going to take about a month to get. And the price includes the shipping. It is $945 US. I'm sure most of you are already looking. Oh, yeah. Hey! Surprise. I'm surprised Trucking Up isn't out shooting stuff. Yeah, $945 US is a lot of money. There are, certain cases where people may think that it's worth it. And I don't know. If you didn't have the space for multiple heaters, then it could be a practical solution. But yeah, it will get you closer to independence. This heater will. Yeah, it looks like it is very well built. They have brushless DC motors, and I think they, in the description on the website, they say that it's good to 16,000 feet, so it will compensate for elevation. So that is pretty cool. Have you worked on figuring out your hydronic heating for the bus? The hydronic heater in the bus works. I currently have just the one heat exchanger. It's a pretty giant one across the front of the bus, and I haven't reinstalled the other heat exchangers. But haven't figured out. Mainly the reason, words are hard. The main reason why I haven't installed them is, I guess, because it's cold and because of time, but also I haven't decided where I'm going to install them. I think probably across the back of the bus here would be a good place to have one blowing forward, because I now have one at the front of the bus blowing back. But with the air heaters in here, I haven't actually been running. Start a GoFundMe. Yeah, you're going to have to. They're pretty expensive. So I haven't been running the hydronic heater because the air heaters do a really good job. They're actually, I don't know how the sound is. I apologize if it's crap, but I'm I'm sitting on top of the heaters right now, and they are cranked all the way up to 10, so all the way up to max. And with them running, I haven't had to run the other heaters in the bus at all. So I basically, it's way too cold to crawl underneath the bus and start dealing with hoses and antifreeze and all that stuff. So probably until spring, it's going to stay the way it is, unless we get, I don't know. Yeah. Who knows, with Calgary, it warms up. Let's see, what are people saying? What I would like to see is you make a waste oil burner from small Princess Auto stove. Like one of the wood stoves? Funny thing you mentioned that, because I was actually at Princess Auto about probably a month ago, maybe less than a month ago, to pick up some expanding foam insulation, and was actually there with Andy. He was picking up a battery, and it's a dry cold there, though. Yeah, a dry minus 26 is still minus 26. But yeah, it is not as intense as a humid cold. But yeah, I was at Princess Auto and saw one of those little stoves and was thinking about getting one to put in a, I don't know if you guys saw in any of my videos, but I have a little shelter in the corner of my yard that we have a fireplace around. And it started out as, I don't know how deep I should go into this story, but anyway, I've insulated it and put a door on it. And I was thinking about buying one of those fireplaces from Princess Auto to heat that. But then it doesn't make sense because I've got a bunch of diesel heaters to test, and that's a perfect place to test them. Bossy, not sure if they all do burnt oil. Wow. Okay. The next, yes, I'm sure everybody has gone and checked out the HLN heater. I don't know if I mentioned this because I'm kind of all over the place, and this is my second attempt at actually going live. The first time it didn't work at all. I guess I couldn't be seen. My connection was too bad. So I was going to do some coconut oil or animal fat burning in the bus. It's too cold. So I'm live chatting. I wanted to talk about HLN heaters and David McLuckie. If you guys haven't written those two things down or already gone and checked them out, go check out David McLuckie's video or videos. I think he has two, maybe even more now. But if you haven't seen his 8 kilowatt heater videos, go check those out. And also check out HLN for their 8 kilowatt heater. I have sent them a message and asked them if they want to send me a heater. I would be happy to do a video demonstrating it to you guys. I think everybody has a little bit of a unique perspective on things. So even though David has done a great video on his, I think it would be interesting to test it in my bus and compare it to, say, I have what Viver would claim to be 10 kilowatts of heat in my bus now. So it would be interesting to compare a single 8 kilowatt heater, real 8 kilowatt heater, to two of my 5 kilowatts. Anyway, the next thing, it would be very cool because you could make it very efficient to me. Yeah, it would definitely be something where you could collect probably a lot of heat out of the exhaust. Although it is a brushless motor in it. It is a brushless motor in it. It has a brushless motor in it, maybe two. It'd be interesting to see if they have figured out a way to make it way more efficient. That is kind of the idea of two brushless motors. You can basically take a lot more heat off of the exchanger and keep the exchanger fan running fast, but slow down the combustion air fan so that anyway, hopefully that makes sense. I don't know why I struggled so hard to actually get those words out. Somebody is apparently sending me another dual motor brushless heater to test, and I've had a whole bunch of people in my comments section asking me where to get where to get them. Last year I tested the blue, can't remember how you say it. It's like ASPLIGO or something. Anyway, sound like I'm dial down the drum. Anyway, somebody is apparently going to send me a dual motor brushless diesel heater that they claim they have availability of in stock. And so they're going to be sending me one of those. So I'll get a video. The Princess Auto stove I was talking about, put a stand, heat sink, coil. Oh, put a sand heat sink with a coil, run a chimney. Yeah, I don't hate the idea of heat batteries, but I think it's a lot more practical in most ways if you're actually going to create a heat battery to use water rather than sand. The only time for me it makes sense to use something like sand is if you have something that's really well insulated and you want the heat to be dissipated over time. And it gets a little bit confusing when you start talking about it, but basically you can either have when any fuel burns, it releases a certain amount of energy. So it has a certain amount of potential energy. If you burn 1 liter of diesel, you're producing approximately 10 kilowatt hours of heat energy. And that heat energy can be lost to the atmosphere. It can be trapped inside of a well-insulated bus, or it can be locked inside of a sand battery or a water battery. And that heat can't be used in more than one space. And once it's gone, it's gone. And so my thoughts on it are, this gets really complicated. I probably shouldn't have gone down this road, but water is kind of the best solution if you want the heat now. So if you want to try to maintain a little bit of heat in something overnight while you're not there and your heater's going to be shut down, then you can heat up sand or bricks or something like that. But due to the fact that they release heat energy slowly, that also means that they don't heat the space very much. So if you're going to use sand batteries, you need your space to be extremely well insulated, because whether or not a room, this bus is a good example of something being poorly insulated. And I can get it up to 30 degrees Celsius and turn the heaters off for a very short time, and the heat will drop very quickly. And so if I had a sand battery in here, I might come in the morning and put my hand on the sand battery and feel that it's warm, but the air in the bus would be freezing cold. Now, contrary to that, if I use something like water that is very efficient at collecting and dispersing heat energy, the bus would get hotter. So the heater that was producing the heat energy would be much more efficient at getting the heat into the bus space. So either it would be higher than 30 degrees Celsius, or I could burn less fuel, but the heat energy would leave the water much more quickly. So, wow, I probably just made that a complete mess. But anyway, thanks. I don't know if you're saying that I seem like a cool guy, but 10-4 King, just wondering. Oh. Are you two getting together to shoot guns? Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? Anyway, while I was rambling on, I hope you guys were entertaining each other in the comment section. The next thing I wanted to point out before I get completely lost again here by reading somebody's comment is, and once again, you guys are probably all going to open another window and go check this out, which I think you should. And I haven't seen anybody do any videos on these. And you probably won't see it on my channel unless they happen to send me one for free, because I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. I'm going to tell you how much it would cost me to get one first. So I had one of these heaters in my shopping cart. It was $800 and some. And first I'll say it was Kirk Walsh who recommended that I check this out. He brought it to my attention, so thanks for that, Kirk. And it is the Max Peating Rod's new heater. You guys are all typing away now to run over to their website. But basically, I had it in my shopping cart. I was willing to spend the $800 American, which converts over to like $1,200 or something like that Canadian. By the time I would have paid the exchange rate and shipping, this isn't including duty or any other fees like that, it would have cost me $1,600 to get this heater. And so I pulled I pulled out of that one. I'm not going down that road. As much as I would like to get that heater, it would take me all year to, yeah, it would take me a whole bunch of videos just to pay for that one video. So I've asked them to send me one. I don't think they'll respond because it's Max Heating Rods and they haven't been very good with responding to me about anything. But the heater that I'm talking about is a self-powered heater, which is really cool. If you follow the David McLuckie channel, which I was talking about earlier about the HLN 8 kilowatt heater, then you may already know that him and a bunch of people associated with his channel actually built a self-powered heater. They used Peltier device, which are extremely inefficient, but they do work. So it's basically a little device. One side of it has a radiator that radiates away heat, and the other side attaches to your heater, and the temperature differential causes a small voltage output. And they made this big intricate thing that attached to the heater, and they were able to actually, I think it had a drill battery on it, and the heater would start on the drill battery, but then it would, once it was up and running, it would charge with the Peltier devices. I forget what they're actually called, or I forget what the other name for them is. But these devices would actually charge the battery back up. So they had enough power to charge the battery and run the fan and the fuel pump and everything. So it was truly a self-sustaining heater. I think somebody stole this idea. Somebody, I don't know if it was somebody at Max Heating Rods or if somebody builds heaters for them, but it kind of annoys me that they've done that. But at the same time, I don't even know if it is commercially viable. They will probably sell a few of them, but it's a pretty niche market. And well, $1,600 Canadian is an awful lot of money for a diesel heater. It does make it a true portable diesel heater because all you need now is the heater itself and the fuel that's in the tank. And yeah, you can go out and run it until it runs out of fuel. If you carry extra fuel with you, you can run it that way. It looks like it has either 18 650 cells in it, or yeah, I don't know. They kind of show some pictures on the website, but it's hard to make out what is, computer generated and what isn't. So anyway, very cool heater, the Max Heating Rods. I can't even remember what they call it, but it's basically self-sustaining. It has some batteries in it, which it probably fires up, runs the glow plug on, and then it actually charges up the batteries and makes enough power. Apparently, I haven't actually used one, and based on the images that they show and the fact that Peltier devices are very inefficient, I'm kind of skeptical. Maybe it just runs. Oh, and the heater does come with a charge port to charge up the batteries. So maybe it's something where it will run for 24 hours. Maybe it will run for 48 hours. Maybe it will run indefinitely. I don't know. But what is going on here? Why am I not at the back? Are you using used oil setup in my house? I talked about this a little bit at the end of the year. I can't remember in which video, but I'm actually, is there an ad showing right now? I am not using my used oil setup this year in my house. The main reason for that is because I purchased this bus, and in order I've purchased this bus, and I would like to be able to use it to do work in the spring. That's how I'm justifying spending all the money for the purchase of the bus and for the work on the bus. And so, as much fun and as interesting and enjoyable as the waste oil heater was, it was basically a full-time job keeping it running. So yeah, I've had to stop doing that. The idea for this year was actually to completely revamp it, and I had two different ideas. I don't know if I actually only showed my Patreon members or if I showed everybody, but I basically went out and got one of the actual oil furnace burner heads, and I was going to convert that over to burn waste oil. Yeah, I had bought a bunch of stuff to make it work, but I've just been super busy doing other things. Two ads, nasty capitalist. Damn third ad. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I can get in here and actually turn that off. They asked me before I started the feed if I wanted to put ads, and I was afraid that if I didn't, that they wouldn't actually show my video to anyone, or they wouldn't tell anyone that it was online, because apparently they do that sort of thing. So it'll never happen. What will never happen? Independence? We don't need to turn this into a political debate here. Hey, off subject, but is Alberta really going to be the 51st state? No, that's definitely not going to happen. If it were to happen, I think it would happen. Yeah, I shouldn't even speak on it, but I don't represent Canada. But if it were going to happen, I think it would happen more or less I don't think it would happen in an abrupt sort of way. I don't think it would be we're totally separate, and then all of a sudden all of Canada just becomes a US 51st state. I think it would be more of something like Quebec decides to break off and become part of the states, or, anyway, parts. Or it would just become like we have better and better trade deals, that sort of thing. And then, it just becomes, how do you call it, semantics that we're not. Yeah, anyway, I don't follow that stuff too close, but I definitely don't think it's going to be a real thing. I have 2 6-gallon marine gas tanks. That is a good idea. Hey, I've seen recently come up, I can't remember where. Oh, I think it was on Facebook. I was doom scrolling through Facebook videos, and some ads popped up for a company that's making diesel heater accessories. So a bunch of different basically fittings so that you can connect a hose to like a VP racing fuel jerry can, or those, what's the one called that goes on the back of, like, heavy duty ones that people put on the back of their Jeeps and whatnot? Please clear the air, bud. We don't need to get hateful here, people. Americans as a whole are very lovely people. Racing fuel cells, like the racing jerry cans. So, you know, like for filling dirt bikes at the track or quads at the track or whatever. You can, Kirk Walsh, I figure. Without making a big mess, Kirk. Yeah, so there's somebody on Facebook, I've seen ads where they've made, I don't know, different connectors, different caps, seals, all sorts of different accessories for getting fuel to your diesel heater. I haven't looked at it closely. A lot of it doesn't. Yeah, that's it. Rotopacks. The Rotopacks things that people put on their tire carriers, on the back of Jeeps and whatnot. So they've made, yeah, somebody's made some fuel connector accessories for stuff like that. Apparently, like marine fuel tank connectors and stuff. Did spill one in the basement already. What fuel line brand supplier do I recommend for diesel heaters? Actually, shockingly, the best fuel line that I've found out there is actually, and this might just be in Canada, but Home Depot has 1/8-inch fuel line. It is orange where I live, and it is really, really, really good quality stuff. It's the perfect size. It fits really snug. It doesn't deteriorate over time. It stays nice and flexible. It stays pretty flexible even in really, really cold temperatures, and it seems to stand up pretty well to heat as well. But yeah, Home Depot, in the aisle where they sell all the like crappy vinyl hose and nylon braided stuff. Yeah. We live in Canada. We have normal jerry cans with spouts and vents. Yeah. I don't actually, a couple of mine don't, the 10-liter jerry cans that I have don't have vents on them now. They just use the stupid vented spout. Hey, Dustin. Merry Christmas to you. I responded to your last comment asking if you're okay. I was like, you sent me a message earlier this year, and then I didn't hear from you again. And then I thought to myself, wait a minute, I also didn't contact you. I have gas can that gurgles nicely, and when it does, let me tell you, I've had one gas can that gurgles nicely, and when it does, let me tell you, yeah. Super busy. Well, I guess that's good. I've also been busy. Not necessarily with things that I should have been busy with, but I did get very busy. You still experimenting with XL can of fuel additives? I still have some of them. I haven't used it in a while. Now that I have the bus, I will definitely be popping some in the fuel tank, but I haven't done any testing where I thought it was appropriate to use the product or where it would show any real difference in burn temperature or quality. But yeah, I still have their products. Good evening from the UK. It is 4:07 p.m. here. What time is it where you are in the UK? Amazon has add-on vents and spouts that you can add. Cool. Got rid of the gurgler. No comment. Gum out is the best. Gum out is the best what? 2307. Oh boy, that is 1107. Yeah, 23, right? 24 would be 12. So, what do you guys think? Has anybody gone to look at the new Max Peating Rods self-sustaining heater? 24 is 1. Okay. So you add 12 to it. But my brain, especially in front of an audience, my brain is not going to do. If you ask me how to spell the word teapot right now, I'd probably cave. Dustin, if you're still there, can you tell me, did you get any hours on the Superjet? Hey, Joel, good to see you on live. Hey, Andrew. Thanks for sticking up for me all those times people said that I was dead. One person in particular, I don't know, 30 hours, nice. So that's kind of funny. This isn't, oh, another ad. Skip ads. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how this happened or why this one particular person started doing it, but while I was away over the summer, people started asking where I was and if I was okay. And somebody who had commented on my videos before, while I was making videos throughout the winter, decided to start telling people that I had died. I think he came up with a couple of different excuses, but he was telling people that I had died from carbon monoxide poisoning or something. And yeah, Andrew was in the comments section. He had my back telling a bunch of people that I was still alive and that I was posting on Patreon and that I had posted a few stories. Why would we pay for woke? Come on, guys, play nice. Probably Jacob. Oh, was it you, Boss Yosha? Stirring the pot. Good afternoon, Richard. This is amusing. So I felt like I had a whole bunch of stuff to say, but I think basically all I had to say was that I was planning on making some weird experimental burning of nonsense video that ended up probably not happening now because the weather is getting really nasty. I mean, it will probably still happen. It's just going to be delayed. But I think I finally have enough bacon fat and sausage grease and whatnot that I can actually do it. It's going to get a little bit complicated because it will have to be kept warm. Let's see here. Never mind. Yeah, one of my next videos is probably either going to be burning coconut oil or coconut oil and animal fat or just animal fat. And either one of those things, the fuel is going to have to be kept warm, because if it's not liquid, and it's going to have to be kept warm all the way through the pump, all the way through the filters and whatever. So I'll have to preheat it and then I'll have to keep it warm. So it'll have to be done in a fairly warm area. So I'll probably do it in the bus, but it could go sideways and I don't want to make a huge stink in here and then not be able to open windows and doors if I need to. So yeah. Can I try honey? I really want to try honey. I think in order to get it through the, in order to actually get it to get to the heater, I'm going to have to inject it with a separate pump or something. So yeah, I'm not sure if I could just use one heater pump. Somebody did a couple of years ago send me, Kirk Walsh ended up buying one as well. But it's basically a device that you can, I think I had it in one video, but you can hook it up to 2 fuel pumps and control them independently. So if I were to burn honey, I would probably hook one pump up to honey and then another pump up to diesel, and I would probably have to keep diesel running to it. But I would really like to try maple syrup, because that would be truly Canadian. Do an axial tube setup with copper pipe. Yeah, that could work. That could be a good heating method. Tweaker. Oh yeah, the tweaker. Premium is the best. I'm doing my best to follow along with some of the stuff you guys are saying, but I'm just not that quick on the best of days. Burned butter might even smell good. I would like to try butter. I actually looked. So I kind of had a rule a few years ago. You guys probably remember a few years ago, I was burning Verisol, turpentine, some other weird paint thinner. I tried alcohol. Anyway, basically I had a rule that I wouldn't burn something unless I could burn a gallon of it at least. And the reason for that is because I didn't want to sensationalize things. I figure after a gallon, if I take the heater apart and I look inside of it, I should be able to tell if it's got no residue whatsoever, then it's something that you could actually burn in the heater. But if I don't burn a gallon of it, then yeah, I could get what appear to be decent results that actually aren't. So just for fun, for what? The one thing about butter that I kind of knew but didn't think of until I was thinking about burning it is that there's actually a fairly high moisture content in it. And so that could be interesting. It would create a lot of steam, I assume, out the exhaust, and also might have to feed fuel in with it or mix the butter with some fuel. I haven't heard of the builder. What? Oh, no. Yeah, I went and checked out his YouTube channel. Haven't seen anything from him, and I sent him an email. I actually felt bad for not showing his device more in my videos. And I sent him a video to check up on him, and his inbox is full. So I don't know what happened to him, but I hope he's okay. Just for fun, honey and syrup is sugar. It would gum up immediately. Yeah. So it would just be for a silly test, but almost certainly what I would have to do is inject it separately with a separate pump while the heater was running on diesel. And it would probably make some really interesting smells. And I'm assuming that it wouldn't get through a gallon before I would have problems. But I really want to try pancake syrup, maple syrup, although that's quite expensive, butter. Yeah, all sorts of things. I would also like to try wax, like actual wax melted down. I know that you can buy paraffin. Hey, Start Ovation. What's your actual name? I guess you don't have to tell us here, but when people, yeah, I've seen you in my comments section lots, but it's weird to say Start Ovation. Also, I've always wondered if that has to do with the Yamaha snowmobile. we're talking not even alternate fuels. I would say we're talking about nonsense fuels. All right, thanks, Mike. We are talking about possible things that you could burn through a heater just to make an entertaining video. Glass burn chamber. I don't know if anything. David McLuckie tried to make a glass end for his heater using, what do you call it, borosilicate glass, and it didn't even stand up. The temperatures in these heaters, like the temperature that you see on the body of the heater, the 210 or 230 or whatever, that is nothing compared to what's inside of the heater. They burn really hot, really intense, and the temperature tends to fluctuate fairly drastically as well. So, hey, NBRC, thanks for chiming in. Hey, Michigan Mike. I had thought about making a heater with some sort of sight glass in it or something, but after watching David McLuckie attempt to do this, and I wouldn't say fail pretty hard, but not having any real lasting results or lasting success, I decided to steer away from that. But for a long time, I had all sorts of Pyrex dishes and whatnot in my Amazon shopping cart. And I was trying to come up with all sorts of interesting solutions. Has anyone tore down a gasoline Webesto to see what the actual difference is from the diesel one? No. And I actually thought about buying just a chamber, but I could never find for sure a gas specific one. I have to assume that they do something to slow down the burn. So my theory is that they probably use some sort of, I was going to say Scotch-Brite. They probably use some sort of, what do you call it? Kind of like a steel wool, but a stainless steel or something, Brillo pad type thing. And I'm guessing they probably inject the fuel inside of that. And so the fuel kind of dissipates out of that and then burns as it's exposed to the heat and air. But I've run gasoline in one of these diesel heaters, and the problem with it, the biggest problem is actually getting it started and staying running. And that's because the gasoline burns so fast that it actually creates pressure spikes. Two problems. One, it burns instantly and creates a pressure spike that then tries to put the flame out. Two, I guess three problems. One, it burns quickly, creates a pressure spike. Two, it burns quickly and burns up all the air in the area. Hey, thanks, Mike. That's awesome. Merry Christmas to you. Unnecessary, but I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. So it burns very quickly, burns up the air. And then the third thing is it burns up very quickly and burns up the fuel. And the flame goes out. So when you go to inject the fuel in next time, there's no flame there for it to actually ignite. So, so gasoline gets kind of scary because what happens is you get the heater to run. Joel's crazy. He'll try anything. I'll never forget him riding his LS powered jet ski. Yeah, that is fun. I was actually at that same place this past year, but they weren't able to get the jet ski up and running. Unfortunately, it had some engine problems. So let's see. Not tore down a diesel heater, but my petrol one looks like diesel replacement parts. Yeah. So what happens if you try to run gasoline in a regular diesel heater? Maybe I'll try it again sometime soon and stuff some Brillo pads in there or something. Would you guys like to see that video? I do have some. Oh, I think I threw them out actually, but I can get more. Yeah, try to run the heater with some Brillo pads stuffed in it or something. But basically what happens if you try to run I wonder on a gasoline one if the microdose, yeah, it could pulse more quickly, but I don't think so because from what I've seen, they sell the same fuel pump for both heaters. Am I naming the bus? I'm not very good at naming things. Okay, maybe I'll start planning a burning gasoline video. I did try it in the past, and I don't think I posted any of the footage. It didn't turn out very well. Holy crap. I'll chip into repaying for the waste oil playlist. Great entertainment. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That makes up for you telling everyone that I've died from carbon monoxide poisoning, I guess. Yeah, so I've tried burning pure gas, well, not pure gasoline, it was a 2-cycle mix, so like a 50-to-1 ratio. And what happens is it has real trouble starting up because when it's starting, the fuel pump pulses slowly. It goes tick, 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 tick. And it's when it's doing that, you can hear it go whoo, 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 whoo. Anyway, it's doing that because the glow plug is on and the glow plug is hot enough to ignite the fuel. But then as soon as the glow plug goes out, the amount of time between pulses is a little bit too much if it just trickled in. So there might be something you can do. Probably every one of you already know this, but you can get a little inline device for diesel. Pardon me, shaking the camera. You can get a little inline device, a damper, fuel line damper, I think. Anyway, don't know what they call it, but that's what it is. And you put it in line and it slows the fuel rate so that, or dampens the fuel rate so that instead of pulses, it's supposed to come through as a steady stream, which seems like it would be more ideal for every heater. The fancy ones apparently all have them. And what you guys talking about? We're talking about burning gasoline in diesel heaters. Thanks. I appreciate the comment. I appreciate the kind words, Mike. The Webasto hydropetrol version never even soots. Yeah, I would assume so. See, a lot of the confusion and something that I didn't think of or didn't realize when I was trying to burn waste oil back in the day is, how do I say this? So what we burn as fuels are refined oils. So what they do, I've tried to explain this many times, many different ways to many different people in comment sections, but I'm not going to get this 100% right, partly because I'm a chemist, not a chemist, partly because I'm live and I fumble with my words. Anyone I know with a gasoline Webasto never quits, or needs cleaning. Can't say for the diesel. So the fuels that we burn are refined heavy oils. They all come from refined heavy oils. So you take heavy oil out of the ground and you heat it up and stuff evaporates off and then you recondense it. And I better not go too deep into this or I'm going to start tripping over my words like crazy. But basically, you take oil out of the ground, crude oil, heavy oil out of the ground, and you heat it up and it evaporates stuff off. Different fractions come off of it. And then you cool them and recondense them back into gasoline and diesel and turpentine and naphtha, and all sorts of other things. And then, of course, they put additives in them. But the stuff that is left over, so when you do this process, you're left over with all this crud. And that crud is the stuff that is in your diesel heater if you try to burn heavy oils. So you could potentially take plastic or biomatter or waste engine oil, heat it up, and basically gasify it, heat it up, and then take the light fractions, recondense that, and then you'd basically have fuel that you could burn. At least that's the theory. But they separate at different temperatures, yes. So when you're getting propane, it's at one temperature, and then they'll heat it at a different temperature for a little while, and you get, xylene, and then you get, gasoline, and then you heat it more, and you get diesel, and you heat it more. Anyway, all that to say, and I don't think I did a very good job at saying this, the crap that gets left behind in the refining process is the crap that doesn't end up in your gas engine or diesel heater or whatever. So basically what these diesel heaters turn into, if you try to burn waste oil in them, are refineries. But you just have to take them apart frequently to get rid of all the crud that you've refined out. So anyway, gasoline heater. It's on my list now of videos to make. Try gasoline in a diesel heater again. Drill a hole through the steel burn tube right where the exhaust pipe is so it can't build up all the junk. Where the junk appears to build up the most is actually, I don't know how familiar you are with the burn chamber or burn tube, but there's an area right where the fuel injects into the burn chamber, into the burn tube, and then there's a baffle, and then there's the actual tube itself. And where how do I say this? Words are hard sometimes. So carbon and soot and all sorts of ash will build up in the entire tube, but where it actually matters is between where the fuel line enters and where that baffle is. If you get buildup in that area, that's basically the combustion chamber. And as stuff builds up in that area, it changes the volume of it. Last year when I was doing research about my waste oil burner, so those of you who follow the project on my waste oil burner that was heating my house last year, you'll be familiar with the project. There was a baffle that sat on top. So there was a baffle ring that sat, there was a bowl underneath that was made with a propane tank, and it filled up with oil. And then there was a baffle ring that went on the top, and it had a hole in it. And at one point I talked in some detail about the position of that baffle and the size of the hole in it. I did a bunch of research afterwards while planning the build of my next heater. And it turns out that the area inside between the baffle and the bottom of the bowl, or in your diesel heater between where the fuel comes in and that baffle, that area determines how much fuel you can burn per hour. And so the heater that I had designed, I say that very loosely because I kind of just fell into it. But the heater that I built last year was capable of burning between, say, 3/4 of a liter to 1.5 liters an hour. If I tried to burn outside of that range, either less than that or more than that, it would burn quite dirty. And so all of that to say that these diesel heaters are designed, those chambers are designed to burn between, I don't know what it is, 0.1 liters and 0.5 liters per hour. And if you push that range out, if you push it outside of that range, it will burn dirty. But also, if you change the volume of that chamber, basically moving the position of that baffle changes the volume, and that's why it's so important. If you change the volume by getting a bunch of crud in there, then it doesn't work right anymore. Wow, that was a long rant that probably nobody followed. Low boilers come off the yes. Vapors travel up through the packed column and theoretical plates. Yeah, I have looked at, I've watched a bunch of videos and looked at diagrams of, what do they call it? Fractional towers, or anyway. Plastic paralysis oil used to heat heaters. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool things that I would like to try. Hey, Cheap Rollin'. I'm doing well. How are you? We ended up in a rant about where the actual issue is with burning waste oil in a diesel heater, or why it's such an issue. Robusto hydro sits inside the baffle and struggles starting, similar to the air heaters. Where's the cats today? Florence was out here with me earlier, and then the 30 seconds that it took her to get to the house, she was so angry about, she basically blames me, I think, for it being cold, typical woman. But she was so angry about the cold by the time she got to the door, she was just randomly hissing. She was looking at the step and hissing at it and looking at the air. Yeah, she was really upset about how cold it was. Thanks, Cheap. Putting in diesel additive really helps. Are we talking about a specific heater that it helps? I have had extremely good luck with all of my diesel heaters. I talk to a lot of people because I make these videos, and so I get a ton of people saying, I've had this heater for 3 days and it's completely sooted up. Or I bought a Viver heater and it worked once and then it completely sooted up. And part of me is happy to reply and help these people. Part of me is also kind of annoyed because I quite often respond to these people and then just never get any response back. And I'm always curious if what I say helped or didn't help, or if they've just returned the heater or whatever. But anyway, most of the time, from my experience, when diesel heaters are having some sort of a sooting issue, there's either not enough airflow into the heater, or not enough airflow out of the heater, not enough exhaust free flow. And as much as I've abused my heaters and tinkered with them and played around, the only time I've ever had issues with sooting is when I am burning something other than diesel. I have not once had a single issue with sooting or carbon or any kind of buildup. And that's even using some very questionable diesel. But I'm not saying that other people don't have these issues, and I'm not saying that it's only an inlet or outlet restriction that causes it. I think sometimes heaters will ship with the wrong pump. So they'll ship with a 22 mil, or sorry, they're supposed to ship with a 22 milliliter pump. I think sometimes they'll ship with a 28, and so they deliver way too much fuel. or they ship with a 16. Believe it or not, these heaters will carbon up quite badly if they don't get enough fuel, because they actually run too cool. And the running too cool all the time, yeah, just causes them to do the same thing. I don't know if you guys watched the video, but I actually made a video where I forget if I adjusted the fuel up and down or the airflow up and down. I think I adjusted airflow up and down. And if you go too lean, you end up with a lot of carbon monoxide and the same problems that you would have if you're running too rich. A lot of people think if you just run leaner, it runs hotter and cleaner, but not the case at a certain point. Anyone who doesn't optimize them with a CO meter and burn is possible doing it wrong. I always recommend people get a carbon monoxide meter. If you're gonna have these heaters around, you should have a carbon monoxide meter. I think what's Andy doing? We should go spy on Andy and see what he's doing here. I'm gonna try to unplug some stuff. Oh, let's go try to spy on Andy, see what he's up to. Out there smoking cigarettes. Out there smoking cigarettes. What a bad example for the youth. I don't know if he went and got firewood or fuel. We have lots of fuel. Anyway, what were we talking about? Diesel heaters. Yes, you should have a carbon monoxide meter and check your exhaust. I've always been able to hacking darts and breaking hearts. That sounds like Andy. I got a bad one for you. I showed high temp shutdown. The temp is only 200 C. Strains exhaust resonance. Yeah, if they get any sort of debris built up inside of the burn chamber, not the tube, but the chamber itself, between the baffle and where the fuel comes in, if they get any kind of buildup in there, they will do this thing where they make almost sound like a pulse jet engine or something. Yeah. If you correct whatever issue it had and run it for a while, it could burn that off if you've just been running diesel in it. But yeah, it said it was only 200 Celsius and it still shut off from a high temp shutdown. That seems a bit weird. Normally the high temp shutdown is above 230 something. I think the lowest I've seen is 236. But yes, I agree, Boss Yosha. You should have a carbon monoxide meter and you should be checking your exhaust for carbon monoxide. And when I'm at 4,000 feet, maybe a little over 4,000 feet where I am, and with my heaters running, I get between 0 parts per million and usually 10, but sometimes as high as like 15 or 17. But yeah, if you're running your heater and you're getting like 50 or 100 parts per million constantly, I would start looking for some sort of issue. I would start looking for, are you running too long of an exhaust pipe? Do you have too many bends in it? Is there some sort of blockage in the inlet? Is there wind blowing? Sometimes you'll, mount it with the pipe pointing out a certain side of your building. Maybe the way the wind is blowing by the end of the exhaust, it's causing a high pressure or a low pressure. Maybe the room that you're in is very well sealed and you've got the exhaust outside, but the inlet inside, and it's creating a pressure differential. there's all sorts of weird things that can happen that you don't think of that can cause weird pressure differentials or restrictions of airflow. And I know that's not always the case. I know sometimes there will be a weird controller ECU problem where it'll inject too much fuel, or wrong size fuel pump, or a leaky fuel pump, or all sorts of weird stuff. But let's see. Big difference in CO2 alarm and meter. Yeah. Just buy a good one. Reviews. Yeah, the one I have, where is it? Just hold on a second. I got this one here, and a lot of people talked shit. I've had probably 15 people saying that this wasn't legit and that I was going to get people killed because I showed this on my channel and people are going to get this and use it. Any carbon monoxide meter that you get, you should be testing to see if it actually works. I demonstrated testing this and tested it many times. 2 in vodka? This is a good live. Yeah. I tested this by holding it. Well, I had my truck in my garage and I tested this. Some of these meters apparently will just, some people claim that some of these meters just have heat sensors in them and that uses the, I don't really buy that. I think that maybe some of them are defective or something, but anyway, I've had a lot of people tell me that I was going to get somebody killed because I showed this on my channel. Here I am doing it again. And people were going to go and get this and it wasn't going to work and they were going to die from carbon monoxide poisoning. But yeah, if you have one of these meters, test it. Verify that it actually works. You should basically, if you start up your vehicle in your garage or even not, if you're standing by your exhaust pipe with this and you start it up from a cold start, even a fairly modern vehicle, this should alarm and go off. It should go up to like 1,000 parts per million or something, or if it, maybe it tops out lower than that, but yeah. Yeah, I did die from carbon monoxide poisoning, so it's proof that these don't work, but yeah, get by your exhaust pipe, verify that the carbon monoxide goes way up when you're near the exhaust with this, and then do something like go by your exhaust pipe on your diesel heater and see if it goes up to, I don't know, 10 or 20 or something. This particular one won't read below 10. So between 0 and 10, it doesn't give you anything. And then see, the batteries are low on it because I've been using it quite a bit in here because I was testing that thing. So I was running it steadily, like giddily. Anyway, it's counting down here, doing its thing. But this is an alarm and a meter, so it, yeah, it's telling me 0 carbon monoxide, 17.2 degrees Celsius, and this will alarm if it goes above a certain point. I think I have it set to 300 parts per million right now. Yeah, that'll get you every time, sticking your head in the exhaust. But yeah, if you get one of these, verify that it works by putting it around carbon monoxide sources, and then use it to check your exhaust, and you should be getting somewhere between, I would say 0 and 20 parts per million is kind of acceptable. If I see mine flashing anything over 15, then I start to get concerned. But that's partly because I've run these heaters a lot now and I know what to expect from them. If you're at a really high elevation, you might get more. But basically, yeah, if you're getting over 50, maybe look into it and see what's happening. He didn't die. He just went until someone, the worst case scenario. Yeah, that's how to get me back. That's how to get me back on making videos. UEI starts anything above, you check your source. If you don't vent the exhaust inside, it's pretty safe. Yeah. And all the accidents, deaths mostly occur. So there's a couple. It's kind of tricky when you start giving advice and telling people stuff because, yeah, especially when you're talking about something where lots of people every year die from carbon monoxide poisoning. So it gets kind of tricky when you start giving people advice about it. A friend of Megan's family actually had a very tragic thing happen. The son and father built their own DIY camper. I think it was a camper for like the back of their truck. They built it and put in a heater, and they didn't vent it properly, and it ended up having issues. I think it was a propane heater, but it ended up having issues. Normally, propane burns very clean, so even if you didn't vent it properly, you'd be okay. But freak thing, the heater wasn't burning properly and wasn't vented properly, and they went out on their first camping trip in this DIY camper that they had built, and they both fell asleep and never woke up again. So carbon monoxide poisoning is a very real and very dangerous thing, but almost always, I don't even like saying this because somebody's always going to take it too far to the extreme. It's almost always the case that people who get severely injured or die from carbon monoxide poisoning, it's because they fell asleep in an area where there was carbon monoxide. The symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning are usually extreme enough long before death that you realize that something's wrong and you don't hang out in that area. Also, a good point, not always the case, especially with something like propane or natural gas, but if a diesel heater is making a lot of carbon monoxide, it's probably also making a lot of stink. Holy crap, dude. That's got to be like a box of 50 BMG shells. Holy crap. Merry Christmas. I appreciate that. Thank you. Wow. You're going to have to take the day off from shooting. Wow. Thank you. I can feel the wind blowing inside of my house. That's never good. Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely alive. Thank you very much. That's for those of you who don't follow me on Patreon, probably won't have, maybe even those of you who do, but this is not the first time that Truckin' has been this generous. He's been a long time contributor to my channel and to my shenanigans, so thank you very much. Yeah, he is allowed 50 BMG and he sends a lot of it downrange. So yeah, as I was saying, something about something. Yes, people typically end up succumbing to carbon monoxide poisoning because they fall asleep. If you are awake, first of all, the symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning, usually people will notice they get a severe headache. And if you're alone and you get a severe headache, you might not think anything of it. But if you're with another person and that other person also gets a severe headache, or you're with 2 or 3 people and you all get severe headaches, you might think maybe there's something causing us all to get a severe headache. But even in that case, it's not necessarily going to make you say, hey, it's probably carbon monoxide poisoning. But with a lot of fuels, especially diesel, if it starts burning to the point where it's creating a lot of carbon monoxide, it's also making a lot of stink. Lowered shenanigans. I would say raised shenanigans. But yes, diesel, if you're standing by the exhaust of a diesel truck, even if it's running well, if you're in a building, in a garage, for example, with a diesel truck that is running, even if it's a modern one that has, all the DPF stuff working right and all that, perfect working diesel truck. If you're in a garage with one of those running, you're not going to hang out in there too long, because your eyes are going to be burning and watering, and you're going to end up not just with bad smell, but you're going to end up with a taste in your mouth. It's going to get pretty nasty. And diesel heaters run a lot more efficient and a lot cleaner than any diesel engine, any diesel truck. And so basically all that to say that I wouldn't use this. I'm not saying vent your exhaust inside or don't worry about your exhaust if you can't smell it, because your nose can become, smell blind to stuff over time. What I am saying is that most of the time, if your diesel heater is making an exceptionally high level of carbon monoxide, it's also making a nasty smell, and you're going to notice that. Carbon monoxide symptoms start with a headache, but then they get progressively worse. You end up vomiting, or you end up with some pretty bad symptoms before you end up in a state where you're going to perish. So anyway, let's see where I'm trying to see where Mike started, if it's just a fresh comment. Had a close call fishing in a fishing shanty as a kid using a propane stove. Eyes started burning and definitely had a sudden headache. Bailed real quick. Yeah. I often equate it to being around. I love being around wood fires. And I actually burnt wood in my house, not my house. My parents burnt wood. We burnt wood as a family until I was about 17 or 18 years old. And I love being around campfires, but when you get the door of your furnace open when you're trying to start restart the fire in the morning, and you've got coals in there and you don't have a good draft going in there, so the smoke starts bellowing back into your house. Yeah, you become aware pretty quickly that let's just say that you try to stop it from happening. You don't just hang out there and say, it'll probably be okay. The house I bought came with a gas furnace and exhaust was plumbed into the wood chimney. The chimney deteriorated over time, got blocked. Oh boy. 10 cords a year. Holy crap. I think we might have burnt that much in my old house. I was thinking more like 6 cords. It's been a long time since I burnt wood as a source of heat in my house, but I think we burnt somewhere around 6 cords, but that's probably because it's all we could afford at the time. Face cords. You should have a smoke hood over the furnace. Yeah, that would be ideal. So I don't know if anybody cares about this, but I'll tell the story anyway, because it seems that this video has basically just become a rant and me hanging out with you guys. I grew up the first 2 years of my life in a subsidized housing, so we would call low rent or low income housing. So I don't know why I mentioned that part, but the house that I grew up in after I was 2 years old was just down a hill from all of these subsidized housing, low rentals, we called them, where the government would basically pay. Yeah, they would take a small amount of people's wages so that they still had money to live, but the rent for the places was based on how much money you made, and so it still left people with a living. So it's kind of almost like halfway house living. Anyway, I lived there until I was 2 years old. This story is not about that. This story is about the house that we moved into, which was just down the hill. And when we moved into it, it had been a house that was built to match our neighbor's house. So these two houses were built, I don't know, it's probably 130 years old now. And there was two kind of matching houses, matching style houses. And it originally had a coal-fired water heat system. So it had big cast iron radiators everywhere and burning 15 every year. Wow. You need more insulation then. Old house. Yeah. Yeah, old houses, like the house that I grew up in had like newspaper and horsehair. Like it was, what do you call it? Plaster walls with like wooden slats, with little wooden slats about this, I don't know, I'd say an inch and a quarter wooden slats, just rough, and plaster that had like horsehair and stuff in it. It was really weird old house. Anyway, I guess it wasn't weird at the time. It was just normal for the time, but it was old. Anyway, I'm getting way off topic. The house that I moved into when I was 2 years old had a coal-fired boiler that sent hot water through the house. And so before we moved in, my parents ended up buying the house for $25,000. And before we moved in, it had been converted to an apartment. So there was an upstairs and a downstairs apartment. And so the top level had a set of stairs going to it. And I remember my father, unfortunately, dismantling this beautiful cast iron heating system and tossing these radiators down the stairs and completely destroying the stair set in the process of doing so. So this story is going to take some weird turns. That was when I was 2, witnessing my father throwing these cast iron radiators out of what would eventually become my bedroom. And so those stairs ended up getting destroyed. And because the stairs were destroyed and we were poor, instead of repairing the stairs, my father just tore the stairs off of the side of the house. And now there was a door that literally opened to nowhere. There was just this door, and if you stepped out, you crashed down into the backyard. So don't step out. And that room ended up being my bedroom. And at one point, when I was 6 or 7 years old, I think, can't remember exactly, I was playing with a candle. I'm sorry, I'm chatting away here and not paying attention. Wooden laths, horsehair, and plaster. Yes, that's it. So I was playing with a candle beside my box spring mattress. And I don't know if they still do this, but old box spring mattresses had wooden frames, and then they had springs in them, but in between the springs and the cloth, they had almost like hay. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was synthetic, some sort of polyester stuff or what, but they had this hay stuff in between the mattress and the springs to give you some cushioning so you didn't get. Anyway, I guess it was a box spring, so the mattress sat on top of it. Whatever. Anyway, I was playing with a candle right before supper, and I got called for supper and left the candle on a stand beside my bed. And I went to the bathroom to wash my hands before going to eat supper. And when I came back, my mattress was on fire. And not wanting to get in trouble, I ran to the bathroom, grabbed a cup of water, ran back into my room, threw a cup full of water on the mattress. But by this time, more of the mattress had caught on fire. So I gave it a second go. But by the time I got back with the second cup and threw it on, it had become a real situation. So I called out to my dad to come and take care of the situation. And my dad ran up into my bedroom, tipped the mattress off of the bed onto the far side, and then went and opened up that door that I told you guys that went into the backyard, and proceeded to grab the mattress, huck it out into the backyard. And it was the middle of the winter, hucks this mattress out into the backyard, and then I'm not joking, go downstairs and eat supper as though nothing had happened while this mattress is burning out in the backyard. I couldn't see it from where I was sitting, but I'm sure my mother sitting at the end of the table could have seen the flames off of this mattress burning in my backyard. So that was the type of childhood that I had. My father wasn't the type of person to panic when situations went bad. And I think that's probably where I get from as well. I've had, I suppose oh my goodness, the generosity doesn't stop. Thank you so much. I have seen you around before. Mickey. Wow, thank you. Did I sleep on the floor? No, that was the box spring. So I don't remember after that what happened, but I remember thinking that I was going to be in serious trouble. Thank you, Mickey, very much. I appreciate the kind support. I did not expect all this generosity, but thank you very much. Wow, you guys are going all in here. What you want my biff coals? What? Biff bifocals. Oh my goodness. I think I need them. I could blame my eyes for that, but that's actually a problem with my brain, not my eyes. Yes, so I thought I was going to get in serious trouble, but it was one of those things. I think my dad wanted me to know that he would much rather me ask for help when I needed help than to get in trouble and not ask for help. I figured he thought if I was punished or felt, afraid, then I might not go to him next time when I did something stupid. But yeah, I remember one time my father was a motorcycle mechanic, and to make some extra money, he didn't make much money at all. He raised a family. I had 7 siblings, and he raised us all. The most money he ever made was $13 an hour until I left home. And then he started working at a Bombardier dealership and made a little bit more in the end. Yeah, maybe I should do this live stuff more often. I don't want to wear out my welcome, though. If you guys get sick of me, just write in the comments, get out of here, and I'll get out of here. But no, my father was a motorcycle mechanic, raised a family of 7 on very little money. And so we would quite often, he and I would do work from home. What did we learn today? Are the pork chops? I wish. Pork chops and mushroom soup. Yum. Yeah, so my father would do jobs at home, and he would line up these jobs to fix a motorcycle or a chainsaw or somebody's snowmobile. And he would basically make it so that I would do a bunch of the work. It was basically teaching me responsibility and spending time with me, and making extra money at the same time. And so that's where I got a lot of my craziness, and also where I learned most of what I knew about engines, was from my father. Because he was my hero, and I hung out with him from the time I was 5 years old fixing engines until I moved away from home, and when I was 25, basically. Wife is trying to watch Transformers and she hears. I apologize to her sincerely. Sorry for all the cackling. We'll show you the boot. Who's going to show me the boot? That's something like my father would say. Anyway, all of that to say that one day we were fixing, at first when we started fixing stuff, we didn't even have a garage. Andrew, thank you. The childhood stories. I am half tempted to tell you guys more childhood stories that would probably be shocking to you, but I don't want you guys to have a bad opinion. I was a real problem child, let's just say that. Maybe we'll get into that in a bit, but first I'll tell you kind of a funny story about another story as an example of kind of why I am the way I am a little bit, and also why I don't tend to panic when things go a bit sideways. I will quite often see people in my comment section and worried about me starting a fire somewhere or doing something. I totally get that. For one, not everybody's like me, and for two, stuff can get out of hand and go sideways, and especially if you're not tending to it, stuff very quickly can go sideways and you can end up in a lot of trouble. But usually my response to that is that the number of people who have their houses burned down because of a grease fire on the stove is absolutely, it breaks my mind, because there is no scenario in the world where I can imagine my house burning down, or me allowing my house to burn down because of a grease fire on the stove. I grew up my whole life in a 100-year-old house that had no fire insurance, and we burnt wood until I was 18 years old. And basically, the way I grew up is, if you need something done, you do it. If you see something that needs doing, you take care of it. If an adult drops something on the floor in front of you, you bend over, you pick it up, and you give it to them. If the door is open, you close it. You don't depend on others to take care of you, because there's not always going to be somebody else there to take care of you. And if you're depending on somebody else, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So, thanks again, Andrew. I appreciate you here and on Patreon. Thank you. So yeah, don't depend on others more than you absolutely need to. Obviously, if I need to get an operation or I need to get my teeth worked on, I'm going to the hospital. I'm going to a dentist or hospital or whatever. But the 10 minutes that it takes for the fire truck to show up at your house, I don't recommend doing something that's going to get you killed. I don't recommend doing something that's going to get your family injured or something like that. But I ultimately think there's a lot of Americans here, I'm sure, that stand behind me and believe that if somebody breaks into your house and is trying to harm you or your family, calling for somebody to help you, you're at the mercy of that other person for the 10 minutes that it's going to take for the police to get there. The same thing goes for a fire. The same thing goes for a water leak or whatever. We've all become very dependent on somebody else taking care of us. I think governments worldwide would like us to be 100% dependent on them, because then they have way more control over us. And I'm not trying to turn this into a political thing, but basically it all just comes back to, if there's a grease fire on my stove, short of endangering, if I had kids, it'd be a whole lot different. If I have kids and there's a grease fire, I'm making sure that my wife, my girlfriend, whoever, they're taking care of the kids. The kids are, far from danger. That's all taken care of. But then I'm not running outside with them until I do everything I can to make sure that that fire is done. I wouldn't wait for the Chatham Fire Department either. Yeah, you're probably, how far would you be away? I mean, not even taking into consideration that they'd be tripping over themselves to get there. But you're probably, 20 minutes to half an hour for them to get there anyway. So yeah, that's a bad situation. So yeah, anyway, back to the story of me and my dad working on stuff, not having a garage, out working in the backyard. I remember we were working on an old snowmobile, and old snowmobiles that were carbureted had fuel pumps, and they have a diaphragm fuel pump. I'm not going to go into great detail, but what would sometimes happen to these diaphragm style fuel pumps is the diaphragm would crack, and when the diaphragm cracked, the fuel tank would drain right through the fuel pump into the crankcase of the engine. They have 2-stroke engines, so the whole bottom of the engine basically would fill up with gasoline. And there's a couple of ways to get the fuel out. You can take the engine all apart and clean it out, which is a huge amount of labor most people can't afford. Or you can, if it's not a whole lot of gas, you can sometimes force them to start. So you cut the fuel off somewhere, and then you pull them over a bunch with the throttle wide open, and sometimes they'll start. If there's like maybe half a cup or maybe a cup of fuel in there, you could get it to start. Probably not. But anyway, the other method to doing this, and I don't recommend anyone do it for the reasons which will be explained just in a few minutes here, but you can pull the spark plugs out, and if you pull the engine over fast enough with the spark plugs out, gasoline will shoot up out of the spark plug holes. And if you do that long enough, you have a backhoe, a gun. A gun in hand is worth more than a cop on the phone. Absolutely. A gun is a big enough deterrent. Yeah. Somebody comes through your door and sees that you have a gun, pretty good chance. Yeah. They're going to change their attitude real quick. But yeah, you can clean out a 2-cycle engine, the gas in the bottom of the 2-cycle engine, by pulling it over quickly with spark plugs out. Gas will spray out the exhaust, gas will spray out the plug holes, and yeah, you can probably guess what happened next. When you do this, it is extremely important to make sure that the engine doesn't fire, that the spark plugs don't fire, because if they do, it will light that fuel on fire. And I don't know how this happened, because we had done this many times before, but somehow, perhaps in pulling on the starter rope, the kill switch got turned back on, and one of the pulls, it sparked and it lit the fuel on fire. And this was a snowmobile that didn't belong to us. We had been pulling it for about 5 minutes, dumping fuel into the engine compartment, into the belly pan of the snowmobile. And yeah, so when it lit, you probably have, I don't know, 2 cups, half a liter of gasoline all over the top of the engine, all over. Anyway, in a bit of quick thinking, Abaco, yeah. I would rather have one and not. Yeah, exactly. Rather have one and not need it. So the snowmobile lit on fire, and it was quite energetic because it was spread all over the place. And both me and my dad started throwing handfuls of snow on it and filling up the inside of the cab with snow. And then once my dad saw that I was throwing as much snow as I could, he ran, grabbed a shovel, and then while he was shoveling, I ran and grabbed another shovel, and we basically smothered the fire out by burying the snowmobile in snow appropriately. No. Yeah, just unplugging the coils would have been the smart thing to do for sure. As long as it is the type, some old snowmobiles like Ski Rules, Moto Ski, Ski Jet, some old Ski-Doos even, if you unplug the coil, it will fire. In fact, a lot of them work that way. Like a lawnmower, if you unplug the coil, it fires. In order to kill the ignition, you actually ground the primary side of the coil. There are other style of coils where you actually send power to the coil to make it spark, but a lot of older coils, the magnet passes by the coil, induces voltage, and as long as the primary side is not grounded, it makes a spark. So yeah, you got to know which type of coil it is first. Your dad threw out the window, didn't he? Dinner is ready. Oh yeah. So yeah, who wants to hear a story? Who wants to hear a story about me in grade 2 running from the police? Yeah, okay. I think the statute, what do you call it? Statute of limitations is, oh, look at there. I was wondering why I was getting so hot. This is not, I'm not trying to sell you guys one of these, but I actually got a really good deal on, before we get into the story of me running from the police, I actually got a really good deal on a Beaver heated hoodie. So I've got this, somebody asked, one of my viewers noticed that I was wearing this in one of my videos and asked me to make a video on it. But I haven't talked about it because I'm still trying to test it thoroughly. I bought this with my own money, but I've got a Beaver heated hoodie on, and I was getting really hot and wondering why, but it's because I've got my hoodie and it's fairly warm in here because of the diesel heaters. But yeah, it's actually pretty cool. This one was on sale. I don't know why, but I got this for, don't go looking for it at that price, the Canadian price anyway. $64 for a heated hoodie from Viver. It comes with one of these battery packs, and you can actually get these battery packs on Amazon. So I got a second one for $34 Canadian, and I've been using this for like 2 months now, and I'm super spoiled. I roll out of bed, and the first thing I do, throw this hoodie on, plug it in, and it has 3 different settings. Sorry, the camera makes me really confused as to what's my left and right, but it has 3 different settings. A little button on the chest, you push and hold it, it turns on red. You push it again, it goes, I think that's a blue, and that's the medium setting, and then the low setting, no, so it's, I don't know, red, green, blue. Anyway, I'm going to turn it off because I'm too hot right now. Anyway, it lasts about 8 hours. No, wait. It lasts 4 hours on a single battery pack on the highest setting. So I've got 2 battery packs. I can basically go 8 hours. Anyway, I can use the hoodie pretty much nonstop, even on the highest setting, because I can recharge one battery while the other one's being used. But also, I don't usually have to keep it in the highest setting. If I'm out shoveling or blowing snow or on a bike ride, sometimes I crank it all the way up. But on the lowest setting, it lasts for about 10 hours. And yeah, I will say a couple of things about it. If you guys are interested in getting one, they fit fairly small, but that's actually good because, as you notice, I'm wearing this underneath another hoodie. So I would recommend just getting whatever size you normally get, and hopefully it fits fairly small. I've only washed it once. I wear it kind of like a jacket because of kids around there. There are laws and things people can't do around Miramichi because of what we did as kids around there. I have no doubt that that is true. Yeah, so this hoodie fits kind of on the small side, but that's good because you can put it underneath another hoodie. It doesn't have any kind of wind block in it at all. So if you're wearing it out on a breezy day, it doesn't do a lot to keep you warm because, well, it does like a regular hoodie, but the wind blowing through it carries the heat away. So you're way better off to get a small one and wear it kind of, I wear a t-shirt underneath so it doesn't get all dirty and stinky immediately. But yeah, anyway, if you want one of these, they're pretty cool. You can get zip up ones as well. They're a bit more money. But anyway, pretty cool. I enjoy it a lot, and I'm way too hot. Now, battery pack, meh. Oh, milliamp hours. I thought you were like, nah, like, whatever. The battery pack milliamp hour is probably too small for my eyes to see. I think they're claiming it says 16,000 on the back. So that'd be 16 milliamp hours. The writing is extremely tiny. Oh, the camera can see it better than I can. Anyway, yeah, I've been really happy with this. I have only washed it once, so it might get destroyed the second time in the wash, but I've been extremely spoiled with it. I absolutely love it. I haven't done a video on it yet because I figured I should wash it a few times and actually use it for a couple months before telling you guys that it's any good, because I was actually quite worried that I would wash it once and it would be destroyed. BJ, my roommate, actually picked up one right around the same time I did, but he bought a McLuckie one because he's a high roller. He paid $300 for it. It's actually pretty cool. The upside to it is that you can use the batteries. It's a 12 volt, and you can use the batteries out of your 12 volt McLuckie tools. So if you already have a bunch of batteries, that might be a good option. And I'm sure you can get a better price on them if you shop around a bit. But anyway, hard to see that tiny print. Yeah, you guys could actually see it better. I could see it better on the screen when I was showing the camera than I could looking at it with my own eyes. But the information is on the website. If you guys go to the Viver website and just type in heated hoodie, or even hoodie probably, and most of them are zip ups. I will say the pull-on hoodie is really nice once you get it on, but it's kind of a pain in the butt to get on, especially when you're used to zip up stuff. But it fits really nice under other hoodies and underneath my jackets. I've worn it a bunch biking. I've worn it working underneath the bus. I've had it, like I say, actually, it's probably 2.5 months now I've had it. Son-in-law has the McLuckie. He loves this time of year. Absolutely. I would say if you have the funds for it, I would definitely not throw any shade at I'm sure McLuckie and DeWalt and all those companies have them. A few years ago, I was going to buy one for Megan, one of the McLuckie ones, and then noticed Viver had them and then just never got around to actually picking one up. That's probably why she left me. She hated being cold. Anyway, why aren't you in the garage? I'm not in the garage because the bus is very cozy and I'm probably partially autistic and suffer from ADHD. I've never been formally diagnosed, but I get into patterns of doing things, and this has now become my safe space. I don't know, this has become my sanctuary. And so this is where I live now, basically. I get up in the morning. Yeah, I literally get up in the morning and check my email, do normal. Well, I don't do normal morning stuff because I don't eat breakfast. I don't eat coffee. I don't drink coffee. But I get up in the morning, use the washroom, check to see how bad my hair is, decide that I'm not going to do anything about it, throw a hat on, and then I basically wander out to the bus, and that's where I spend the rest of the day. Yeah, it's my new Porta Studio. It is very warm in here. I should turn this back on. I've turned it off, but turn it back on and see what the temperature is right here. It's actually, let's see, where's my phone? See if I can find how cold it is here right now. I have now been on this stream for 2 hours. I really doubt that I will end up publishing this because I don't think anybody's going to want to actually watch it. But I'm just enjoying hanging out with you guys and chatting. I wasn't sure what I was going to do about a video. Oh, there we go. Minus 23 degrees Celsius. And it is going to be dropping to minus 26 by 10 p.m. I just reminded myself that I haven't had anything to eat yet today, and it is 5:32 p.m. So I got out of bed today and got out of bed a little bit late. Oh, I didn't tell you guys the story about running from the police. I'll do that before I go. This has been fun. Yeah. Daily expectations. Keep streaming, dude. People super chat reason. You call it rambling. Yeah. Maybe I'll come back after I eat, but I will tell you guys wow, I got distracted. No, I forgot the thing oh yes. I will tell you guys a story about running from the police in grade 2. But before I do that, I'm going to say what I did today. So I got up today, got out of bed fairly late, went outside. It has snowed. It's minus 19 degrees Celsius. So I started up the heater in the smoking shack for Andy, went outside, shoveled off the step, shoveled off a little bit of the walkways and stuff, and then got my snowblower going. I've literally, I don't think I posted a video on it. I did a few years ago and I was way too high energy, so don't go and watch it. But anyway, temperature is 19 degrees Celsius in here and 0 carbon monoxide. That's good news. So I shoveled off the walkways, went into the garage. I have a snowblower that I got from my neighbor about 3 years ago for $100 because it was broken, and I gave him a quote for fixing it, and he said, nah, I'll just sell it. And I said, well, it's a good snowblower. You should probably fix it. I won't charge you any labor. I'll just charge you for the parts. And he said, no, I got it on sale. It's not worth much, so I'm not going to fix it. So I said, well, if I had any money, I would give you $100 for it, but I don't have any money. So ask a couple $100 for it because it's worth at least that. So he said, well, I'll tell you what. You take the snowblower, give me money when you can. And I was like, okay. So that summer, I paid him the $100 for the snowblower. And then I've kept it for the last couple of years now, and I finally fixed it. And it needed a piece of the housing welded back together. I had to make a scraper bar for it. I had to put a pulley and a belt on it. I had to clean the fuel system. I had to 3D print a choke knob for it. I had to put a new key switch in it. Anyway, it needed some work. It needed some TLC, but it's a really good snowblower. And so I get it all together. I run it. I've cleared snow 5 times, 6 times with it this year. And today I was clearing snow with it, and I noticed it making kind of a funny sound. And then as soon as I was done, I was going to do one more little path just to kind of clear a spot up. And I went to engage the auger, and nothing happened. Took it into the garage. The belt had fallen off, and the belt's got a big chunk missing out of it. So I'm going to need to replace the belt on it. But anyway, long story long, I ended up cranking the heat in the bus, and I was going to do the video about burning bacon fat or animal fat or whatever. And yeah, maybe I'll do something like that tomorrow. It takes so long to organize things when it gets really cold. Just making trips back and forth from here to the garage gets quite difficult. So now, about 6 degrees Celsius here. God forbid we get any snow. The whole country will lose their shit and everything will come to a standstill. Yeah, I grew up on the east coast of Canada, and when we got snow, that's where Kirk is now, so he knows for sure. When we got snow out there, I mean, you don't really even consider it snow unless you get 5 inches, 6 inches. You kind of laugh if it's any less than that. But here in the West, here in Calgary and north of here, Fort McMurray and around those places, it gets quite cold, but generally we don't get a lot of snow. So snow here is, you might get an inch or 2 of snow and people think it's a lot of snow. And it's kind of the same thing. I forget. Wow, why can't I remember his name? It's one of those things. I pictured the name in text, and then as soon as I tried to say it, It fell out of my head, and now I can't get it back. Pub head. Pub. Anyway, he lives here in Calgary, and I can't remember why I brought him up. My brain is messed. Anyway, yes, he brought up how many accidents there was the first snowfall of this year, and it was something like 800 and some reported accidents in the first snowfall. And ADHD confirmed. Yeah, anyway, so I think ADHD makes for an interesting storyteller if you're not actually interested in the end of the story and you're just interested in things along the journey along the way, as they say. It's not the destination, it's the journey. So yes, distracted expectations. Yeah, so the story of me running from the police when I was in second grade, I'll start by saying that I'm not proud of this stuff. Just because I'm laughing at it doesn't mean that, I would never do any, if my kid did this stuff, I would whip his ass. But yeah, I was a pretty horrible kid. I don't want to get into details, but I had a couple of really traumatic experiences when I was quite young. So when I was 2 and 3 years old, the second one I won't get into. The first one, when I was 2 years old, my brother pushed me down the stairs in a walker, and I was actually in intensive care for a while. I broke my toe, obviously not life-threatening, but it burst. I can't remember, it was my appendix or something. It ended up damaging something inside. I don't know if anybody remembers those walkers. They had wheels on them, and you were kind of suspended in it, and you could push yourself around. Anyway, I was 2 years old. My brother opened up the gate at the top of the stairs and sent me down the stairs, and I crashed into the door at the bottom, and I was in rough shape. So anyway, apparently that was a traumatic experience for me, even though I'm laughing about it now. And then I had one other very traumatic experience at a hospital that involved me waking up mid-surgery, and the surgery was supposed to take a long time. So my mother had gone walking through the hospital, and I was screaming and shrieking and putting up such of a fuss. This was when I was 3 years old. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I was putting up such a fuss that they couldn't get the IV back in me to get me back under. And they ended up paging my mother and going looking for her. They brought her back into the room, and my mother said that, I hope you guys aren't too squeamish or anything, but it's even worse if you know. I'm not going to say what the surgery was on, but you guys will probably understand it without me even saying it. It'd be bad enough if it wasn't it would be traumatic enough if it wasn't a more traumatic part of my body that was having surgery. But my mother walked back into the room, and she said there was blood everywhere because they're trying to, it's mid-surgery, and I wake up and break free from, they weren't restraining me, but I'm freaking out. There's blood everywhere. She said there was a nurse in the corner of the room crying, and everybody in the room was freaking out. And they basically needed her to come back into the room and subdue me so that they could actually get the IV back in and put me back under and finish the surgery. So all of that to say that I had a couple of traumatic experiences, and that turned me into a bit of a demon child. So anything that took me away from my mother after that, and I didn't realize this was the case until I forgot all this had happened until I was 18 or 19 years old. I was having a discussion with my mother, and she brought it up, and I was like, what? Anyway, anything that took me away from my mother led to me being quite violent. So school, hospitals. Anytime somebody would try to take my mother away from me, I became this huge mama's boy. And yeah, so I went to school and I hated it. I actually missed so much time in my first year of grade 1. The first year, yeah. I ended up having to redo it because I missed so much time of my first year. I would actually go to school and then just go walking in the woods or go wandering around. I would leave at recess and just take off. And I missed so much time doing that I had to redo grade 2, which almost seems unbelievable. But yeah, traumatized expectations. So at one point I was hanging out with I don't know how many of you guys know this, but I have a twin brother named Jason. And I was hanging out with Jason and this other kid named Jimmy Flieger, which quite tragically either later that year or the next year died. He was crushed by a transport trailer, big rig, outside of his house. So add another traumatic experience to the list. So I came up with the idea that at recess, we were going to, yo mama, I have a pretty good sense of humor, and I don't take anything very, well, I try not to take things personally, but yeah. So I decided to talk my twin brother Jason and this kid named Jimmy Flieger into skipping class. So at recess, we had this big playground, and at the bottom end of the playground, there was a ball field. And after the ball field, there was literally a road and then a sewer treatment facility. And on the other side of the sewer treatment facility, there was the Miramichi River. And so the name of the school, if you want to look it up on a map, it's Miramichi, New Brunswick, and the school is St. Andrew's School. I don't know if they still call it the same thing. They've changed stuff up quite a bit since I've been there. But they may have also closed the sewer. They built a new one when it became a city. But anyway, long story, extremely long. I talked them into skipping school. So we all go down to the end of the field and the bell rings for recess. And instead of going back into the school, we cross the road. And so now we're along the fence where there's a fence for the sewer treatment facility. And we were walking up and down there, and I was trying to convince my brother and this kid, Jimmy, to go down onto the beach. You could go one way or the other, get to the ends of the facility, and then you could walk down onto the beach. And that was a great place to hang out, way better than hanging out in school and coloring or doing whatever. I wanted to go down on the beach and play with sticks and throw rocks into the water. So yeah, I was very much a rebellious mama's boy. So anyway, we were down along the fence playing. Recess ends. The teachers, I don't know, do the roll call or notice that we're not there and call the police. The police come around the school, and we see them approaching, or I see them approaching, and they're driving down this road by the river, and they pull up beside us and start saying something. Keep in mind, this was 40 years ago, so my memory of it is, I've told this story a few times, and my memory of it is kind of, not all together. But basically, the police pull up and say something about your parents, parents are worried about you, get in the car. So the other two start up the hill. There was a bit of an embankment, and they start up the hill to the police, and I'm like, not me. So I run the other way, and as I start running the other way, a cop gets out of the car and he starts running down the embankment. And I remember at one point looking back and seeing Jimmy and my brother walking up the hill and them turning around and looking back to see why the cop was running towards them. He was like, come back here. Anyway, I jumped the fence of the sewer treatment facility and then run across the field. And I don't know if you guys, my face is hurting from smiling so much. I don't know if you guys have ever been around a sewer treatment facility, but a lot of the time they have these giant round tubs that kind of churn everything up. And inside the tubs, they basically have these brushes. I think they're brushes. They might just have something with fingers on them. Anyway, they have these rollers inside of the sewage that goes around to basically break up the waste so that you don't have a lot of solid waste. So these big rollers go around, they break up the waste. And because they have a roller, they have this giant round pools of crap and water and whatever, sewage. And they have a walkway or a catwalk that actually goes up over the top of these pools. And anyway, I ended up running across the lawn away from the police. I don't think at that point I even looked back. I was just running. I don't know if the cops jumped the fence to come after me or not. All I know is I got away. I ran across the catwalk on this shit pool, basically, down the other side, and then had to go up and over a second one, if memory serves me correctly, and then climb the fence and jump the fence onto the beach, and then ended up on the beach. And I knew once I was there, the cops would know that they could go to one end or the other and they would catch me. So I was expecting to get to the sewage treatment facility went along the river. So once I was on the other side, I had add effects using hand gestures. My crazy Apple computer is trying to get me to add effects to the camera by using hand gestures because I was moving my hands around. Crazy technology. Anyway, I knew that they knew that I had one of two ways out. So as soon as I got over the fence, I just ran as fast as I possibly could down the beach. And I think they must have gone the other way. So it was kind of a flip of the coin to which way I run. And they must have gone the wrong way. You talk too much with your hands. I do. It's a French thing. Joël Arsenault. Exactly. Catching frogs and hunting turtles. All sorts of things that I'd rather be doing. Skimmers. Is that what they're called? Anyway, I'm assuming the police went the wrong way and I got the flip of the coin right. I ended up at the end of the facility. There weren't any cops there. I ran down the beach a little further, ran out, looked down the road, didn't see the police, crossed the road, and got free. Don't remember what happened after that. But that was not my last run-in with the police as a child. But my throat's getting quite hoarse from all this talking. I'm getting extremely dried out. So I should probably go and grab something to eat. Thanks, Mike and Kirk and Boss Yosha. Thanks. I forget your name. I know you've told me your name several times, but I'm bad with it. So thanks, Truckin'. maybe I'll come on sometime and just tell random stories of my childhood. The time I jumped out of the second story window of the school. The time I don't think I should tell the story about the time I brought a knife to school. Eugh, cringy. But anyway, oh, Chuck. Yes, Chuck from Kentucky. I did remember you're from Kentucky. I'm glad you guys enjoyed. Thanks for sticking with me. We've got 31 people watching, and there was 31 basically from the start of it. So, yes, I really, really appreciate you guys hanging out. Thanks, Andrew. Yes, sorry, almost forgot about you. Yeah, I'm glad you guys enjoyed hanging out. I did very much. And I'll probably post this and then take it down because YouTube algorithm doesn't like it if a video doesn't get a lot of watches. And I have a feeling like as soon as people see this is 2.5 hours long, they're not going to watch it. So it's a good thing that story about running from the police is at the end of the video. That's just between you and me now. Like and subscribe. Yeah, that's right. Give a thumbs up. You must like it or you wouldn't be here. Yes, I absolutely do like chatting with you guys. I kind of worry sometimes that I'm just being boring or saying too much or yeah, but you could do worse. Yes, thanks again, Chuck. I really appreciate you and everyone else, of course. Yeah, it's nice to know I have my people. That would be cool, Joel. Like I said earlier, good to see you live, brother. Yes, take care, everyone. Thanks, Richard. Glad to see you here from the very beginning. Yeah. See, you guys can work together. Boss can start rumors and then you can nip them in the butt. Yeah, I should eat. We got, oh, N8. See ya, N8. Nate. Until next time. Yes. All right, guys, I am going to go for real now. Thank you very much for hanging out. And I might be back tomorrow. Maybe if I do, maybe instead of doing a video, I'll do a live stream of trying to burn. Yeah, that'd be interesting. A live stream of trying to burn bacon fat. I think that would be interesting. And even if a whole lot of people don't watch the live stream, it'll still be fun for everyone who hangs out. Not promising anything, but yes, thank you. I'm out of here. Everyone, take care of yourself. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and thanks so much for your generosity, whether that's donations or simply hanging out and chatting with me. I do appreciate it very much. Bye.